going on? Welcome in the Matt Bernier Show, DRF TV, live.drf.com, livestream.com, the Daily Racing Forms Twitter handle. That would be at DRF Inside Post, as well as the Daily Racing Forms Facebook page. My name is Matt Bernier. You can follow me on Twitter at Bernier_Matt. This is the preview edition of the Matt Bernier Show, taking a look at 3 races from this upcoming weekend. That would be the weekend of June the 2nd, and I'm going to just be upfront about this whole thing. With the amount of weather coming in and the uncertainty about where certain horses are going to run and what kind of conditions we're going to have, this is going to be a really tight little show here. There's not going to be any kind of fluff. We're not going to go and talk about anything that we're going to probably touch on next week leading into the Belmont Stakes and that entire day of racing. So this is going to be kind of down and dirty. 3 graded stakes races, 1 from Penn National, 1 from Belmont Park, 1 from Santa Anita, and we'll get you out of here and get you ready for out of the gate. If you listen to this podcast form, YouTube, SoundCloud, iTunes, video.drf.com. If you listen on YouTube, click the subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up if you subscribe. Make sure that little bell is actually on and it doesn't have a line through it. That way you'll get all the latest offerings from DRF TV. If you listen on iTunes, give us a nice little review and a nice rating as well. Comments, questions, concerns, like I said, on Twitter, at Bernier_Matt, or in the comment section below on the YouTube channel. Let's just dive right into it. Again, like I said, not going to try to make this any longer than it needs to be. There's a lot of unknowns. We're going to kick things off at Belmont Park with the Pennine Ridge. Mike Watchmaker, the DRF National Handicapper, brought up a good point, and it's something that I think a lot of people have brought up. As much as I love the big day of racing at Penn National, as much as I love this nice race, the Pennine Ridge, leading in as a prep to the Belmont Derby, why you would have 2 of the best turf races within, a driver and a half sort of throw one another on the same day, that's kind of silly, and I understand just the calendar, maybe that's the way it works out, but it's unfortunate because it makes connections have to make a decision, and instead of getting 1 really big race that's really, really strong, you get 2 really nice races, but they could be even better. Neither here nor there. Let's dive into the field, what looks like anyway, for the Pennine Ridge. Now, I'm saying this, what looks like it could be. Last I knew, it is not official by the time this is being recorded on Thursday afternoon, Hawkish was planning to go to the Penn Mile as opposed to the Pennine Ridge. So all of these odds that you have on the far right side of the screen in the value line, they are sort of not including Hawkish because I'm planning on him not running in this race. If he does, certainly these odds are going to change significantly. Also worth noting, rain in the forecast Friday and Saturday in Elmont, New York. So take that into consideration as well when you handicap this race. The number 1 is Up the Ante, going up for Christophe Clement. Impressive gate-to-wire winner most recently. The problem here is going to be, sure, you might be out there on the front end all by your lonesome, but from a talent standpoint, I just don't think he's nearly as good as some of these other horses, and there are some quality runners in here. I brought up Hawkish. Don't think he's running here last I had seen. If things change, you're going to have to take that into your own consideration. The 3 is Catholic Boy for Jonathan Thomas. Javier has the mount. This is a horse we know what he's capable of when he's at his best. Unfortunately, he bled pretty badly out of the Florida Derby. They needed to give him some time, and they're bringing him back on grass. We'll find out if he is still as good as he once was, because I know there are some people that are disappointed with the way that he showed up as a 3-year-old. Probably should have won the Sam F. Davis. Florida Derby, just never really got involved. But in fairness to him, he ran into some good horses in those races. And now we'll find out. Perhaps the turf is really what he's been bred for all along and what he's wanted. We'll find out. I made him 5-1 in this spot. And it is going to be just more of a touch-and-go situation for Catholic Boy. We'll find out what we get from him here in his first start since the Florida Derby. The number 4 is the big horse, Analyze It, going out for Chad and Jose Ortiz. I made him 3-5 on my line. I believe in the morning line he's 4-5. Would expect him to go even shorter probably than my value line. He might be in that 1-5, 2-5 range. This horse has been nothing short of brilliant in 3 starts. Highest last out buyer in the field with a 98. Highest last out time form US rating with a 117. That is not pace adjusted. There's really not a lot to knock about him. Again, the horse to beat. The number 5 is Irish Territory for Bill Mott. This is a horse that I was really interested in with anticipation last year up at Saratoga because his debut, I thought he had a pretty rough trip, but he didn't know what the heck was going on, very green. Then he comes back and runs really well in the with anticipation. The problem is we didn't see him again until April at Keeneland. I think there's talent here. He won and broke his maiden most recently at Churchill Downs. I don't know that he can win this race, but I certainly think he can run underneath in exotics, made him 32-1. Untamed Domain, one of the other big names in this field. The son of Animal Kingdom goes out for Graham Motion, a rallying second in the American Turf, finishing behind Marad. Marad will run in the Penn Mile. I think this is a very talented horse. I expect him to take a step forward here in the second start off the bench. You know that he can handle a little bit of cut in the ground based on the way that he ran down at Churchill most recently. Wouldn't be surprised at all if he came with a big effort, made him 6-1. Archigelos, the number 7 horse from Michael Dickinson. This is a horse, again, he's done some good things in the past. The problem is I don't see any sort of progression from his 2 to 3-year-old campaign, and if that's the case, he's just woefully slow on paper. He's going to need to up it significantly to be mildly competitive in here. Made him 49-1. And the number 8, Channel Cat, another horse that I've been a little bit intrigued with. I think he's going to appreciate as much distance as you can possibly give him. You give him 1.5 miles, I think he'll run it every step of the way. The problem is he's slow on paper right now. He ran in that American turf, didn't have to love the off-going. The problem is he may get off-going again here on Saturday afternoon. Made him 49-1. Let's get into the pick and the play for the Pennine Ridge. The pick, let's go back. I got to be honest, this was one of those instances, this race, when I saw Analyze Its name and I saw Catholic Boy's name and I saw some of these other horses, I said, you know what? This will be a chance for me or an opportunity where I'll feel comfortable taking a shot against Analyze It, just thinking, you know what? Maybe he is the best horse, but I want to take a shot against. And then I went back and watched his Cecil B. DeMille to round out his 2-year-old form. And then I watched this race here, the Transylvania. What an impressive performance. Here's Kurt Becker with the call.
To challenge Dragon Drew for the top spot. These two going at it. Admiralty Pier in third. Marat is fourth. Analyze It pokes ahead in front. Final furlong of the Kentucky Utilities Transylvania. Analyze It opening up with every stride. 3-4 lengths to the good. Back to Dragon Drew second. Admiralty Pier third. Captivating Moon runs late in fourth. Far behind, Analyze It.
When I watched that and I watched him open up the way that he did down the lane, now keep in mind that was over yielding ground as well. I don't have much interest in trying to beat him. He's going to be able to work out arguably the perfect trip in here. If you think the one up the ante goes, I would imagine Jose Parks Analyze It right off of his flank, and he says, you know what, I'm going to take this thing over early and make everybody else come and catch me. This horse looks like he could be, and I hate to put expectations or sort of amplify expectations, but I'm not alone in saying this. There have been a number of other pundits that have come out and said the same sort of thing. This looks like a special horse. This looks like a horse that really could be the goods. You've even heard whispers about possibly going to Royal Ascot. I don't know where that stands right now, but for what it's worth, this is the local prep for the Belmont Derby. I don't think distance is a problem for this horse, should they go there, or if they choose to get really bold and send him over to Europe. But I think Analyze It is strictly the horse to beat. But again, there's not going to be much price there, which leads me into the play for this race here. I'm just going to take a shot, okay? $5 Superfecta. I'm going to key Analyze It on top. I'm going to use the 2 most logical alternatives underneath, in my opinion. That's going to be Catholic Boy as well as Untamed Domain. I feel like either one of them, if you took Analyze It out of this, I think it would be a very, very wide open race as far as who the favorite would be. You put Analyze It in it, he is strictly the horse to beat. And again, this is all with the assumption that Hawkish is not running here. Because if Hawkish were going to run, then this play would look differently. But I'm going to key Analyze It in first. I'm going to use Catholic Boy and Untamed Domain in second and third. And then I want to use the 2 horses that I've always been a little bit of a fan of that are going to come from off of the pace. I'm going to use the number 5 Irish Territory and the number 8 Channel Cat. I know, dangerous to throw out a couple of runners. I'm not going to be using any of Up the Ante. I'm not going to be using any of Archigelos. But I just feel like, you know what? This is one of those instances, if you absolutely want to play the race, maybe you get one of those instances where, again, the exacta and the try, if they come in this way, they're not going to pay too much. But we've seen so much value is had in that 4th slot, especially if you can get a little bit of a number. I do wonder if Irish Territory or Channel Cat, maybe they go off as the 5th choice in here, 5th or 6th choice. If you can get one of those in there at 10-1, 12-1, 15-1, maybe that's enough to double up what the trifecta would have been. And again, for a $5 superfecta, it's a $20 play. Perhaps you can turn it into something in the $150 range, all told. So we'll take a little bit of a shot here. I think strictly the horse to beat is Analyze It. I'm going to be fascinated to see what we get from him on Saturday afternoon, whatever the turf conditions are in the Pennine Ridge. Analyze It for me in the Pennine Ridge. The other big turf race on Saturday is at Penn National. It's the Penn Mile. 3-year-olds going a mile on the turf course. Let's take a look at the field. Again, this is another one. You've got horses that are cross-entered. You've got horses that may or may not come based on weather. It makes it very difficult to handicap this thing 2 days in advance. But nonetheless, here we go. The hand we're dealt. The number 1, Colton, Mississippi, made him 32-1. Didn't think he was terrible in the Bridgetown, but also didn't think he was any good. He's going to need to up his game impressively and in giant fashion if he's going to get the job done here. Made him 32-1. Encumbered coming in for Simon Callahan. First start since the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf. Throwing a lot at him in a short amount of time here. This is a matter, and when I say that, I mean going into the absolute deepest end of the pool off of a long layoff. I think there's talent here. I just think this is a really good group, and I wonder if is he going to be ready to go against these kind of horses shipping across the country. And like I said, facing a very, very salty group here. I made him 16-1. The number 3 is Maraud. Maraud won the American Turf over yielding ground most recently at Churchill Downs. He's very talented. There's no denying that. He really hasn't done much wrong in his career. He's 4 for 7, 6 times in the money. But I just, Mike Watchmaker alluded to it. I do wonder how much upside there is. How much more growth is there for this horse? He's run 2 90 buyers. He's run a 91 and a 90 as well as a couple of 85s here. As a 3-year-old, there's a part of me that just wonders, if it takes a 95 to win this race, can he get there? Or is he going to be living in that low 90 range? Heck, if a 90 wins it, he's certainly a major player. I made him 7-2, up from his 5-2 morning line. Therapist for Christophe Clement. We know what he's capable of on his best day. He's 4 for 5 lifetime. I thought his run in the Cutler Bay was very strong. The one thing was a little bit concerning. Irad Ortiz had to go to the stick on the far turn, and I thought he was just kind of spinning his wheels, but he leveled off really well once he got into the straight. And I do wonder, ultimately, is this horse going to be better at 8 furlongs, a little bit longer distances? He can certainly win in this spot here. Highest last out buyer in the field with a 92. Highest last out time form U.S. rating with a 115. Made him 7-2. The number 5 is way early for George Weaver. I wanted to like this horse more than I do. Went back and watched that most recent run where he was second to Morrison, and I just thought he was okay. I thought it was a decent effort, nothing spectacular. Popped back to his left lead at the end. That was his first start since October, so maybe he needed a race before he's going to be totally tightened up. Worth noting, Lasix on for the first time for way early, made him 13-1. The number 6 is Hawkish. Now, we brought up that Hawkish cross-entered in the race at Belmont. It sounds like he's running at Penn National, so that's what I'm assuming here. I made him 3-1, co-highest last out buyer with the 92. Visually very impressive, winning that non-winners of 1. Other than the field hasn't come back great, but it is worth noting Morrison was a next out winner with an 80 buyer. I got to be honest, though, Hawkish had a perfect trip. I've always been a fan of this horse. I think the talent is off the charts. I do wonder. He's going to take some money in here, and at a shortish price, does he have that much of an edge on the rest of this field? He may be the best long-term prospect, but I'm a little bit dubious about taking too short a number on him. I made him 3-1. I think he's going to be right there in that ballpark, and even having said that, I would have to think long and hard before actually biting on that number. Number 7 is Smart Remark for Vicky Oliver. This horse is cross-entered in a race, on Thursday at Churchill Downs. Now, as this is being recorded, we don't have any sort of inkling one way or the other. She may decide to run this horse in Kentucky. She may decide to ship up and run at Penn National. I think if this horse runs, I think he's live as a long shot in here because his turf races are much better, I think, than anybody's going to give them credit for. And look, he's not a bad dirt horse either, but I think if he runs here, I think he's live. I made him 6-1. And the number 8 is He's Bankable for Mark Cassie. All 3 victories, gate to wire fashion, 2 in a row. It's put up decent enough figures. I just wonder, now you're going to be facing much better horses, much better company, and you're going to have to do it over some ground with some cut in it. It is nice to note, though, that most recent victory, though, down at Gulfstream came over good going. I made him 49-1. Let's get to the pick and the play here in the Penn Mile. So much of it is dependent on who goes and who doesn't go. My pick in here is Smart Remark. I liked Smart Remark running in the Columbia off of the long layoff down at Tampa 3 starts back, and I thought he made a premature move on the far turn considering how hot those fractions were. And yes, I know Gadoo was the one that was out there contesting them all throughout, and he still won the race. But I feel like Smart Remark moved a little bit too early. That's why Captivating Moon was able to loop him. I know he was almost 3 lengths clear, but I just like the way that this horse runs on turf. I know he won very impressively 2 starts back, and I'm just drawing a line entirely through that Pathé Mile. I don't know what you want to do with any of the horses coming out of there. But I thought his maiden score in his career debut was visually very impressive as well. That was at Indiana Grand. I like both of the turf races from this horse, and I think he's going to be a giant price in here. I made him 6-1, gave him a 14% chance. Again, weather, we'll find out, and we'll also find out if they even ship him in. But if he runs, I like him a lot. So I'm going to play $10 to win on this horse at odds of 6-1 or greater. And then also my saver exact is I'll use the 3 logical horses. That includes the number 3 horse, that would be Maraud, the number 4 horse Therapist, as well as the number 6 horse Hawkish on top, and I will use Smart Remark underneath. But for me, if he runs in the Penn Mile, I do think Smart Remark is a very, very interesting live long shot anyway, in a spot like this. Again, I'll play him at odds of 6-1 or greater. He's 12-1 on the morning line. Smart Remark in the Penn Mile. And let's wrap things up here on the preview edition with a look at the main event at Santa Anita on Saturday. The Grade 1 Beholder Mile, 1 mile on the main track. Fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and up. Let's take a look at the small but select group of fillies and mares that will go this distance in post-position order. Number 1 is Money Spunt. Made her 49-1 for Doug O'Neill. Nice little filly. Think she's in over her head. Think they would be thrilled to get a piece in here and have her grade 1 placed. Number 2 is Mopatism. She ran a week ago for Doug O'Neill. They tried the turf in the game. It didn't work whatsoever. I talked about it on this show. I talked about it in the stakes preview. I think they were just trying to find out if she could stand up on the turf. Clearly she couldn't. Doug O'Neill has credited Mario Gutierrez for realizing they weren't going to get anything, so they wrapped up on her, and I suppose you can look at it as nothing more than a bit of a workout. And now you come here. This is her surface. She's much better suited for the dirt than she is the turf. I don't think she can win in here, but I think she could certainly get a piece of this thing and finish underneath. I made her 19-1. The number 3 horse is La Force for Patty Gallagher. You got Drayden Van Dyke aboard. They almost got a graded stakes placing most recently with her in the Adoration. She was graded stakes placed 4 starts back in the La Cañada. I think she's a notch or 2 below the big girls in here, but I wouldn't be surprised at all based on her running style if they took her back, tried to make that one run, and get a grade 1 placing for her, made her 49-1. The number 4 is, to me, the most polarizing horse in the race. That is Paradise Woods. I made her 9-5. Not sure what she's going to be come post time for Richard Mandela and Flavien Prat. She was awful in Santa Monica. There's really no other way of putting it, but you know what she's capable of on her best days. Whether she's still at her best, what she once was, or not, that's really the decision and what we'll find out on Saturday, because she's going to need to be every bit her best if she's going to beat the big girl breaking from the far outside. Again, 9-5 for me with Paradise Woods. Veil Dory is another horse that we got to find out. What is she anymore? I made her 8-1 in here. She came back in the Adoration as a 7-5 favorite. Or an 8-5 favorite, excuse me, for Bob Baffert, and she just never really picked her feet up. She never looked comfortable, and I know Fault has turned into one of the best fillies and mares in the country, but this horse, Veil Dory, she wasn't ever that close to the front end. Usually she's more forwardly placed. She's now 6 years old. You have to start to wonder a little bit, is she losing a little bit of that oomph, that sort of zest for running out there? We'll find out. If she doesn't run well here, I would venture a guess they're going to be very selective with her going forward. The 85 buyer, though, in the Adoration, that's simply not going to cut it. She's going to need to get back to some of those runs from the Clement L. Hirsch, from the Beholder Mile last year, where she ran second to Stellar Wind each time. Made her 8-1. And the big girl, number 6 horse, Unique Bella, for Jerry Hollendorfer and Mike Smith. I made her 6-5 in this spot. The Apple Blossom, I know she fell basically to her face coming out of the gate in the Apple Blossom. And I know it was over a good sealed track. And I know she was keen. But to me, that's still part of the problem, is that I don't know if she can shut it off. And if she can't, that's a major, major issue. I had said that weekend down at Oaklawn that was the biggest race of the weekend, not the Arkansas Derby. Because we were able to find out if Unique Bella, if she could ship out of town, which I still don't know if that's the case. Could she handle an off track? Jury is still out there, really. And just, if you threw different things at her, how would she adapt? Well, she didn't break well, and then she rushed up, very, very keen, pulling, and she got beat by Unbridled Mo. And I know that you can sit there and say, you know, with the start and all those sorts of problems, you know, this wasn't a terrible effort. To me, it's still not good enough if you want to be considered one of the best horses. If you want to be considered one of the best fillies or mares, please, she's right there at the top. She's 1A, whoever else you want to include in there, whether it's Fault or someone else. But a lot of people were discussing her as possibly being a horse that could run against the boys, myself included, based on that Santa Maria. She's going to have to do a heck of a lot better and learn to relax a little bit if she's going to be able to beat anyone of super, really, you know, large status. Because you could argue that, with the exception of the La Brea, the 2 times she's really been tested, the Apple Blossom with the shipping and all that kind of stuff, and the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint, she was her own worst enemy. And those were 2 of her worst races of her career. And I understand she finished second in a grade 1 most recently, but it just, she's going to have to put it together here. Now, this is also an opportunity to keep in mind. She has not won a grade 1 routing yet. She won a grade 1 in the La Brea, but as far as 2-turn races are concerned, she's yet to win a grade 1. So this is still an important race for Unique Bella to ultimately add to her value in the grand scheme of things. I made her 6-5. I think she's the horse to beat in here, but she's not going to be my pick. My pick is going to be Paradise Woods, and I've always been, you know me, I'm a fanboy of Paradise Woods. I don't know where she is overall anymore, because she was slow out of the gate in that Santa Monica, and perhaps she just doesn't want to run anymore. I have no idea. We'll find out, hopefully, on Saturday. I do think there is a tactic that should be employed. Whether or not it will be, we'll find out. But I think we're at a point now in her career where you need to just go for broke. out of the gate. And I would love to know what would happen as well with Mike Smith on Unique Bella should they do that. Let's go back to, again, one of the more impressive performances, I think, from last year in 2017. This is Michael Rona with the stretch run at the Zenyatta.
Faithfully second, about to field Bejarano's weapon. It's Paradise Woods, 5 lengths in front, coming past the 8th pole. Paradise Woods travelling strongly. Faithfully is a clear second, but giving game and fruitless pursuit. Paradise Woods back to her brilliant best. Paradise Woods standing up to be counted with an easy, a facile win in the Zenyatta this afternoon.
I think there's a scenario where if you go out there, if you're Flavian Pratt, and again, I don't know if they're going to do this. I don't know if this is even a consideration. I want to go out there and go guns blazing, make the front at all costs, because she has not been nearly as successful sitting off of good horses. She sat when she broke her maiden, but that doesn't mean that you can sit and do that against better horses. When she goes out there and blitzes horses and goes out to the front, she decimates fields. I don't know if that would be the case, but I do wonder if they do that, does Mike Smith all of a sudden say, you know what, we'll sit, we think we're better than Paradise Woods, we'll just sit off of her flank and take over whenever we want. If I had any piece of the horse, this would be the opportunity for me to say, you know what, we're taking it to them. We're going, make them make a decision, not us. We don't want to sit here and try to get too cute. Especially consider Veldori also, just to the outside, has a little bit of speed. And I understand perhaps you end up getting your goose cooked on the front end, but guess what? The recent form would suggest that the other sort of instances or running styles aren't really working. I would try to blow this thing open. Just go. Gun it. Try to make the top and say, come and catch me, as opposed to sitting off of someone like Unique Bella. So the pick for me is Paradise Woods. There will be no play because I just, again, I don't know how they're going to ride her. I don't know so many things about it. And then from a value standpoint, realistically, if I made her 9-5, am I really jonesing to bet against Unique Bella, knowing that her best is almost a 110? Probably not. This is going to be one of those races where I'm going to be very curious to see how they ride Paradise Woods and what she still has left in the tank. The rest of the girls in the field outside of Unique Bella, I wish you nothing but the best. Maybe you can get a grade 1 placing in here, but this really feels like a 2-horse race. But these two are not, stone cold locks. On paper they might be, but they've got their own quirks. So if all of a sudden they all throw it down and this thing turns into a staggerfest late, who knows? Maybe LaForce can come with a big run. To me, again, it's just going to be more a matter of sit back, watch, and see how things work out with Paradise Woods and Unique Bella. How are they ridden? Do they do everything they're supposed to do? Are they professional? Does Unique Bella relax? Does Paradise Woods go on with it? If there's a fight, does she spit it? We'll find out. I'm going to go with Paradise Woods in the Beholder Mile to see if she can get back on the beam and get back to her best form. Again, a little bit of an abbreviated show here this week. We're going to button things up. If you've been listening live, thank you for doing so. Livestream.com, live.drf.com, the social media pages for the racing form, Twitter as well as Facebook. The Twitter handle would be @DRF Inside Post. If you listen in podcast, YouTube, SoundCloud, iTunes, video.drf.com. If you listen on YouTube, click the subscribe button. Give us the thumbs up. If you listen on iTunes, give us a review. Give us a nice little rating there as well. If you want to follow me on Twitter, @Bernier_Matt. Questions, comments, concerns, whatever else it may be. Also, you can feel free to leave the comments down in the comment section below the video on YouTube. I will go through some of them and anything, like I said, questions, comments, concerns, critiques, whatever else it may be. If you're listening to this live on Friday, you've already listened to the DRF Players Podcast with Peter Thomas Fornatal and Jonathan Kinchin. And if you haven't, I would suggest you do that each and every week. They play twice a week. And then this, as we always do, leads you into the latest edition Out of the Gate with all of the usual suspects from the daily racing form, all of the contributors. So best of luck this weekend, however you're playing, whatever you're playing, wherever you're playing. We'll be back with the recap show on Tuesday. We'll get you ready for Belmont Stakes Week to find out if Justify can win the Triple Crown. Talk to you soon.